All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Tadlock, will you do roll call, please?
Mr. Andre.
Here.
Eric Gordon.
Here.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Here.
Mrs. Costock.
Here.
Mrs. Reckles is excused. Mr. Scarrow.
Here.
Ms. Corpus. And I'll note that Mr. Gatehart's last meeting was the previous board meeting.
So we do have a quorum and we do have one person that indicated they would like to speak. So I'll just briefly read a statement and then invite you up. The community participation period is an important time for the Board of Education to hear concerns, gratitude, etc. of its constituents. That said, prior to making a statement, please be aware that each speaker bears the personal risk if anything they say during community participation of the school board meeting is defamatory, slanderous, or otherwise harmful to another individual. Okay, we have Brenda Johansson.
People get really creative.
And you do have 3 minutes. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Johansson. I am a parent and volunteer, and I was a member of the Vote Yes committee for both of the referendums. While the results of the referendum were not what we hoped for, we do understand that this means major financial decisions need to be made and made quickly. All of these will absolutely impact students, staff, and the community, but one potential decision stood out as a huge worry across every group of the community. The switch from neighborhood K-5 schools to center schools is a decision that would undoubtedly have long-lasting impacts on every facet of our district and our community, regardless of whether future budget changes allow it to be walked back. One local business owner, Brian Maydell, began to organize a group of concerned families almost immediately after the referendum, and offers of donations and supports flooded his messages. As a small group, he and I and Terry Jagursky are here with a request. We, as a group, would like to offer support and fundraising and ask that the board refrain from making any changes to the neighborhood elementary school model this coming year. In just 72 hours of just using our personal Facebook accounts to do a little solicitation, we've already garnered a total of over $25,000 in pledges. And that comes from 55 individuals and 6 local businesses. We as a group are confident that there is support out there for this effort. And those pledges range from people who can give $20 to people who generously pledged $5,000. We understand that these are only pledges. That doesn't necessarily translate exactly into dollars in the future, but we are confident in the support of the community. And we have a plan to move to an established 501c3 and use that as a fundraising vehicle. And we truly believe that this effort, along with the hard work of the board and the district administration, can ease the district's burden as we move forward together through a difficult budgetary time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the overnight travel request from Deb.
All right, I'm gonna just start it off and then I'm gonna turn it over. 3 of the 4 students are here tonight, the other one is at work. But we did put together a short presentation to kind of explain how we got to this point. Basically what we're doing, we're here to just simply ask for the permission to attend this overnight trip to Orlando, Florida. Our International Career Development Conference happens once a year. And so we're not asking for any money. We're supported within our organization and the parents of the students that attend, but we are just asking for permission to attend. So thank you for allowing us to come here and share with us. So I'll turn it over to the 3 that are here.
Hi, I'm Gavin. My partner Kale couldn't be here tonight, but we are both seniors. This is our 2nd year in a row qualifying for ICDC. We are the first people in Elkhorn to get a gold certified SBE. Our project that we're doing is a school-based enterprise food, which is on our El Cafe at the high school. And we're presenting on the market planning within the store that we have.
Hello, I'm Keller. I'm a senior at Elkhorn. I competed in BMCSEA conference, which is like a practice competition, and then districts, which is like where it matters, and then state where it really matters. And I got 4th place there, which means I qualified for ICDC in Orlando. I did an entrepreneurship innovation plan project. And it's based on, it's called Protectant, which is, slogan is protection for tomorrow. And it's, an innovation that, is clear to opaque glass, where you press a button and it turns from clear to opaque. And it's mainly used for school safety, so in the case of a unfortunate, intruder environment or, something happens in the school, we can lock it down, with this innovation that I thought of. And there's a link to the project paper right there, and that's a 10-page long kind of paper on all the details and ins and outs of Protectant.
Hi, my name is Izzy. I'm a freshman at Elkhorn area. I competed at districts and state, and I placed fifth at state, so I qualified for ICDC. This year, I'm competing for a finance, operations, and research event, or the FOR event. Our 2024-2025 theme was how can you implement or improve the AI used in a business or company, and I chose Edward Jones. And I also linked my paper down below.
Awesome.
And I just want to add, just to kind of put it in perspective here, these kids are doing 10 to 30-page projects. Putting them together, polishing them, practicing, getting it to other teachers and other adults who will take a look at it and give them feedback, and then modifying and editing. Then when they turn that in late January, they go to the next phase, which is putting together a presentation or pitch that they then will present to the judges at state after practicing numerous times, and then now moving on to ICDC. And all of this work is done completely outside of class. So it's above and beyond what they do during the normal school day. So awesome job, you guys.
Congratulations to all of you. So you're seeking for these 4 students?
Yes, these 3, and then Gavin's partner, who helped with the school-based enterprise project, second year in a row that they got enrolled.
Wow.
This year is a recertification process.
Okay.
They'll be eligible for the recertification for the next 3 years. So Gavin and Michaela are seniors. What they did is they put some pressure on the cafe team and DECA members to continue that tradition for the next 3 years. So, we can keep getting that national certification.
And does anybody have any questions for any of the students or about the group?
Where in Orlando are you going to be?
We are about a quarter mile from Disney Springs, the Hilton property. It is considered a Disney property, so we will have access to the Disney shuttles if that's something they decide to do. But
I
about
hope they have some free time to do that.
not a whole lot. It's not, they don't have full days. They'll have partial days.
Yeah.
So we'll try and maybe look for maybe twilight tickets or something like that, but they do have some downtime here and there. The conference center that they're gonna be at is a 20-minute shuttle away, and there's constant shuttles that are going. So yeah, they're 4 of about 700, I think, students from Wisconsin.
Wow.
Wisconsin, as far as DECA goes, Wisconsin's a very big state. For DECA, it's highly competitive. So getting to this level is super challenging.
Yeah.
So I commend these guys for that. We're in the past, it's hard to find numbers currently, but in the past, we've been pretty much consistent in the top 5 as far as delegations,
Yeah.
numbers in the nation. And so, but the cool thing is it's not just the 50 states and territories. Last year, Gavin was one of the students there last year as well with his project. They talked to people from Japan and
Wow.
China and all over the place. A lot of people from
So it's
Ontario.
international. Yeah.
Yep,
That's
it's truly an international
Yeah.
conference. It's really.
So is
That's
it
awesome.
tens of thousands of students that are there, or?
Yeah, it's close to 20,000.
Oh, wow.
18.5
Wow.
from all over, yeah.
And you'll be competing there as well,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Are you the only adult?
Yes.
Going, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Up to a certain number, we only need 1 chaperone.
got it.
I could put you on a waiting list if you.
Talk to me.
Izzy, coming in you're involved as a freshman, where do you see this taking you in the next several years of your academic career?
Hopefully I can take over Gavin's project next year at El Cafe. And potentially get some scholarships when I'm a senior.
That's great. Great idea.
So tell us a little bit about what you did to improve the AI that was used for Edward Jones.
So my idea was just an idea. I've never pitched it to Edward Jones, although it is called the Jones Plan. And it's a 5-step process to implementing AI, including explaining to clients why it's needed, explaining to advisors how it's used, and improving the overall client advisor relationship through AI.
Okay. Awesome. Tyler, tell me a little bit more about. So this clear to opaque glass, is this something you invented, or tell me a little bit more about
Well,
that?
currently it's not the tangible thing.
Okay,
I didn't make a whole pane of glass and
Sure.
it's just an idea. It's a business plan.
okay,
And in the past, clear to opaque glass does exist.
uh-huh.
However, it's been rarely used in a safety environment.
Oh,
And I think that's definitely a utilization that you can use.
got it.
Along with that, I know our school has buttons throughout the school that instantly locks down the building in case of an intruder. And so I had a component in which you can connect the glass to that button, and so you can instantly lock down the place.
Very cool. So you've taken a product that already exists and found a new application for it.
Exactly, innovated it, yes.
Awesome, very cool, love it. Well, thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
We just need to have a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the overnight travel request from Becca as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the overnight travel request from DECA as presented. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, you guys are good to go. Can't wait to hear, yeah, we can't wait to hear how you did.
Thank you very much.
So definitely
Appreciate it.
report back. All right, thanks. All right, moving on to the Career College Academy student report. That'll. Bring the hardware. There we go. That's awesome.
Well, good evening. I'm Kelly Demrath, and I'm the very proud principal of the Kern College Academy. And I know many are in the know, but we have a lot of new friends here tonight. The Kern College Academy is the charter 912 high school located on Gateway Technical Colleges. So we fulfill both pathways for students in a personalized fashion, whether they're interested in career readiness, college readiness, both. I surprise them when they say that they don't want to go to college, and I'm like, hey, guess what? Welders go to college. You know, that's fine. People in construction, they take college courses. So we have 230 students achieving all manner of industry recognized certifications, technical diplomas, which equal about 40 plus college credits, all the way to our students who are looking at being college ready. They're fulfilling associate degrees through the first 2 years of their bachelor's degrees while in high school, all tuition free for our students. So that is just a little bit about our school. But tonight we are here with our Youth Build program. And so that's kind of the epitome of career and college ready, because not only are they getting college credit for the work that they do, but we believe that when you build good things, they end up building us. And absolutely, while we're building homes with Habitat for Humanity to increase the affordable housing in our community, we're building these young people to get amazing positions in our community doing amazing things. And so I'd like to turn it over to Michael Black, the Youth Build Program Coordinator, also to introduce John Miller and Carl Bjorgi, our construction managers, and Central Holmes, our case manager.
So I'm Mike Clark, I'm the program manager for the Elkhorn Youth Build Program. The Elkhorn Youth Build Program is a federally funded program that runs through the CCA. So tonight, we're gonna present to you on the progress that we've made on the 2.5 projects that we have going on right now. But before we do that, we wanna highlight a couple of students here, and students who aren't here who competed at Skills USA up in Madison and brought home some hardware, as you can see. And for that, I'm gonna turn over to Carl Bjorgi and Jen Miller, the project managers who went out there with them and kind of overseeing Skills USA and the projects that we have going on right now.
Hello, it's good to see you guys again. Thanks for having us back. So this year at Skills USA, we've gone in the past, we've taken students from our construction and courses in our youth build program. This year, we kind of went with the mentality of let's bring like a JV team and a varsity team. So we were 2 of 9 teams that competed in the Skills USA Teamworks contest. For those who don't know, Teamworks is a group of 4 students who they show up, there's a pile of supplies on the floor taped off in about a 20 by 20 square. They're given a set of blueprints right before they start building. And they end up building something comparable to like a half bath with some added bonus skills, I guess you could say. So our JV team, this was their first year attending. We had 2 students who were previous or current youth build students. We have 1 student who is planning on joining youth build next year, who basically I just talked to him and was like, hey, what do you want to do after high school? And he said he wanted to go into the military and then he wanted to go and learn how to do construction. So I was like, well, hey, we have this fine young man here who's joining us who did that pathway all in one shot. I was like, did you even know that you could do the construction in the military?
Yep.
So then he kind of blew his mind and we've kind of been talking about stuff and looking at his future. So we asked him to join this team as a junior. And then I had another student, Jack, who was already doing a YA for electrical, took one of my introduction classes earlier in the school year. So we brought him on as like, I don't know, our electrical brain for that JV team. Everybody who's on that team is either a sophomore or junior. So the plan was that they can come back as like our quote unquote varsity team next year. Yeah, so I mean, they have framing, carpentry, electrical, plumbing, masonry, all different components in their build. And then if you want to click our next slide, there, our varsity team actually ended up taking 3rd. So they were.
It was a long day.
Yeah. So in the 2 days, they did about 12 hours of construction. The 4 of them, they showed up in a pile. They ended up building that structure from the ground up, and they had to tear it back down when they were all done, which I think is a little heartbreaking after they spent 12 hours building this. But we tear it back down to try to salvage as much as possible for next year's contests, or different contests as well, even because there's individual plumbing, electrical contests, so they can reuse some of those supplies. So yeah, our varsity team, 3 of those students came back from last year. We did add a junior to that team to kind of get some experience at the upper level to bring back to that JV team next year. So Connor was on our varsity team, Abel was on our JV team. Kind of put it in perspective, the team that placed 2nd at state for Skills USA this year won the last 3 years. So they placed 2nd, and then which was Hartford Union. They have one of the best Skills USA chapters in the state. And then the 1st place team was Watertown, who also is way up there in the Skills USA. Both of them have advisors who are involved in the state level of things. So they're very into it. So the fact that our students placed 3rd was really cool. They placed, I think, 5th or 6th last year. So we came back with some improvement. We grew. And then the judge, or the guy who was sponsoring the event, was actually very impressed. He said that the top 3 spots were just minimal point difference. So, you know, just a couple minor changes in these guys' works and they could be, you know, on that gold podium instead. But it was really cool. Like they said, they were exhausted at the end of the day. You know, they were tired, but they were all smiles from ear to ear after they, you know, they found out that they had placed 3rd, and they really came back. They put in effort. As a teacher, the cool thing was we spent about an hour and a half with 8 kids in a hotel room planning for the 2nd day. So they're like, okay, guys, I literally said to them, what do we struggle with today? What do we do good with today? And what's our plan for tomorrow? And that was just the 8 kids talking for an hour and a half, you know, asking questions, planning. You know, teams were working together, but then they would like join with kind of like who was doing the similar stuff the next day. So the 2 guys doing electrical would like bounce ideas off each other. The guys doing the plumbing bounce ideas off each other. It was just really cool collaboration. You know, and I think that this group just did a fantastic job representing Elkhorn. And actually, one of our science teachers came back the next day, or a couple days
Yeah,
later, went to a conference, and they said, "Oh, you're from Elkhorn? I just saw your team at Skills USA." So it's kind of cool that like
They remember.
they
you.
remembered us, and
Yeah.
like that we're kind of making an impression beyond, you know, just our community even.
Yeah.
We're kind of getting ourselves known, and we're climbing those ranks and making ourselves, we're making a difference beyond just, you know, the job site, and our kids are showing that they're learning true skills that, you know, are being recognized by professionals in the industry. And that, you know, it's not just, well, you can kind of do it, we're doing it pretty well. Yeah, so then this is our Bloomfield project with Habitat for Humanity. So we started with a hole in the ground. There's a guy came out, did the concrete for the basement about halfway up. You can see it's about 4.5 feet tall of concrete. And then we had to build the knee wall around the outside of it, bring it up to a 9-foot ceiling. The floor joists, they did all the interior basement walls. We had some minor hiccups and, you know, different trades that put things different places. So we had to work through that. It was good conversation pieces. You know, we had some issues where we ended up tarping the top of our floor because we had water seeping down in from rainstorms that we had. So we were squeegeeing, shoveling, getting water out, things
Spring in
like that.
Wisconsin, who knew?
Yeah. It was cool is that like you can kind of see where the front entry is indicated on there. It's a open space that, so it'll be like stairs go up and stairs go down. It's like a split level. So we
Which
ended up,
is a different,
which is a different floor plan than
Yeah.
done in the past.
so this is a new one for us.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting that we're doing that. The walls, or sorry, not the walls, that spot above that opening, our students built a railing just to make sure we were safe around that opening, so nobody was falling down, anything like that. So we had to talk a little bit about, you know, different guidelines, regulations for safety purposes. Yeah, they did the whole subfloor, and then we've got our pavilion that we've been working on as well. So we had our concrete slab. We ended up building all the walls up on top of it. We had Elkhorn Roofing did the roof. Stebbins Builders did the sheeting and the roof trusses because we don't have our students go up at those higher elevations.
No, we don't.
We do not have, we did actually just recently purchase some scaffolding so our students can have a platform to work on a little bit higher in a safer manner. And we have harnesses and things like that so that we can go through, you know, that process of things. We did talk about it, but now we can actually kind of show it to them and have a safe place for them to work. We wrapped all the outside, we installed the windows and doors on the building. We did not do the overhead doors, that was done by
Lake Geneva Garage Door.
thank you, Mr. Miller. Yeah, so our students have got a lot of experience on this. We just got all our siding, actually on Friday, we went and picked it up and unloaded it and put it all inside the building. So we're restarting on our siding, our soffits, our fascia, on that building as well, and then wrapping it up for the end of the school year.
What kind of siding are you guys doing?
LP Smart Siding. Yeah, so it just gives our students, you know, this project's giving them a large, diverse set of skills and materials. We've also tried to match it to the building as much as possible, so in doing that, it gave us different materials to use. And we talked about how we're gonna do those materials, how we've had, you know, maybe this building's a little bit different because it's trying to match a building that's already in existence instead of starting fresh, how we could then have different design elements, you know, so it's, but we're trying to keep it cohesive.
And this project is at the middle school. and it
Correct,
was
yes.
Sponsored by an endowment
Right.
from Sugar Creek Lutheran.
Yep.
So that is where this space came from, to be also a classroom and a community use space at the middle school, which is really amazing.
And we even had, we had the middle school students come out and they helped us build headers for the overhead doors. So they were able to see that space.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny, a group of like 4 young ladies who were like, wait, so this is actually going in the building? And I was like, yeah, you'll be able to walk under and look up and there's like, you know, you're this lady Mabel, you're right there. So it's kind of cool. They put about 400 nails in there.
Which one is
Yeah.
there? Which one is there?
Coming down.
But it was cool to see our students be able to, from the high school level, to then show those students what they were doing and help them do something and kind of spark a little interest for them as well. And also it's cool to see them invest into their school at the same time. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and we did put the rebar and posts and everything in the concrete. So our students had to learn how to lay out the flooring or the concrete rebar and the chairs and the matting and grid pattern and everything. So like that was a little process for them and, you know, tell them you can't just stomp around through the gravel because that affects your base of things and, yeah, overall, a lot of hands-on, a lot of cool thought process, a lot of learning that's been going on. And we appreciate the support of you guys allowing us to do that and having trust in us that we're building quality products. We do have another small project, our half project, I guess, is we have a life jacket stand that we're building as well. It's kind of our rain day / small project. When we had our open house at CCA the other night, we were building it outside there to kind of show off what we were doing. But it's basically for the DNR, it's a place to, you can borrow life jackets if you need them for your boats and then put them back in, it's like a little storage bin.
I'll put one out at, there's a lake that my husband got fined for.
I believe this one's headed for Williams Bay.
You just let us know. and we'll put it
Yeah.
out there.
I think the idea is that it's gonna travel.
Yeah.
It's great, it's great.
In your competition,
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
assuming,
question.
I'm assuming that there was a time limit
Yes, yeah, we had 12 hours to work.
and
Over the 2 days?
was not a problem, you were able to complete everything.
We were able to get everything done, I think, an hour before the time was cut off. And, we were just really making sure we had everything set correctly for the judges.
And the work responsibility, does someone take kind of a foreman role, or do you all have a particular thing that you're working on?
So it's sort of like, it's just, you go where you fit. Like Aiden, for example, was very good with the electrical. He kind of took the reins on that. Gabe had done the masonry last year and he scored 4 out of 5 and he did it himself this year. And Travis was very fast with the plumbing and he did a really good job on that. I don't have like the most experience compared to those guys, so I was kind of bouncing around doing like the little jobs for them, but they really needed that, and that's an essential job to have.
The expediter is an important
Yes.
position.
And I'll say is that part of the contest, they get graded on their cleanliness randomly throughout.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times Connor like would just be like helping out and they'd be like, okay, I don't have anything, you grab the broom and
Yeah.
clean up the station. Because you know, that's part of keeping your station safe is having a clean workstation. So you know, he was just like, yep, I'll do that when you don't need my help. Interesting though is should ask Abel how their group started off because they started a little differently. I would say they learned a lot and rebounded significantly
Yes.
and made up ground, but.
So do tell. So
So,
what happened?
when the competition first started, we started off very, very slow. We were all looking at the blueprints, all 4 of us, just trying to figure out what we were trying to do, trying to figure out everything that we had to do. But then we just sort of talked about like what we actually needed to do and all that sort of stuff. And then that's when we came up with the plan. 2 of us do something and 2 of us do another. So me and my partner were building the walls. And the other 2 were looking if they were secure on the walls or not, like standing up straight and not wobbly or whatsoever. And then the following day, we, like he said, we had our little electrician. So he took care of all of the electrical, and then his partner took care of all the plumbing. And then me and my partner just took care of like all the small jobs that we might have missed on the blueprints. And then by the end, we finished up pretty quick.
It's great.
And you're ready for next year.
I was just
Right?
gonna
No
say,
surprise.
We learned a lot.
I think it's important to understand, none of the 4 of them worked together
Okay.
before this day.
Oh, wow.
They talked in the van on the way to Madison.
Okay,
At noon, they were handed a blueprint and said, go.
yeah.
And we are not allowed to help them while they're
Yeah,
working.
that was the hardest
So, like-
part is we can't, you just look and go.
Right.
By the end of the first day, so they built from noon to about 5:30. And then they took a break, they went, fed them, let them go run around the pool and do whatever, then we regrouped. All the other teams, the other 8 teams had their walls standing. Our JV team was still working out the difference between the 2x4 and the 2x6 walls
Oh,
on that little platform.
okay,
Within an hour on day 2, they had all their walls standing and had caught up.
nice.
So I mean, they literally
Yeah.
figured out exactly what they needed to do, got their heads together,
That's
and they
awesome.
pounded it out.
That's awesome.
They ended up really doing a great job prioritizing and kind of dividing and conquering.
Yeah,
We talked about that when we said, what issues they had. They all were like, well, we focused on one thing. And then when there was an issue, one person was fixing it and 3 were watching. So we're like, okay. So like, I mean, we're on a job site and try to talk, is that a 1-person job or is that a 2-person job? Or is that a 3-person job? And then they started realizing, okay, this isn't always a 4-person job. So we can split up, and they caught up really fast when they started getting that mentality going. Actually, it was the varsity guys occasionally, like, they'd be like, what's going on over there? And I'm like, yeah, I know, we'll talk to them tonight. And then all of a sudden they came back and they're like, they're doing pretty good. And so it was, it was cool to see them coaching that other team, and, and they're proud of each other, and, because that group was in that same shoes last year and they came back, and now this group wants to come back and get at least second, because they have to. So,
well, yeah, now, I mean, now you've got another goal to work for.
It's game on.
Yeah,
That's great.
well, you guys, we're super proud. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your success with us. I look forward to seeing you guys and some other ones on our job sites in the future. And, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to food service budget analysis and proposed increase in meal prices. Good evening.
Hi, so for those who do not know me, I'm Ashley Drake, I'm the supervisor. Here's just a quick analysis of my department that I currently run. We have 5 kitchens, so like 5 teams. I don't think everyone realizes we serve 8 schools though. Currently 30 employees. And then to the right are my numbers are based off my March. So like the elementary schools, all 3 of them combined, in a month, we are doing about 4,100 breakfast, 11,000 lunches. At the middle school, 1,800 breakfast, 8,000 lunches. And then high school CCA options, 1,700 breakfast and 13,000 lunches.
That's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot, and our numbers are up this year. So it's amazing. What makes the food service program fiscally unique? I'm pretty much my own business. My sales and expenses are tracked separately. I have federal regulations that require segregated fund and account structure. And I have my Fund 50. How is the food service program funded? So as you can see, my federal aid is a large majority of that, as well as my food service sales. And then you can see what the state provides for our department. Yeah, how are the resources spent? So obviously, I think if anyone has been in a grocery store lately, food is not cheap. That's the largest expense of the department, as well as my wages and benefits for my personnel, followed by supplies that could be like paper cups, paper trays that are disposable that we might need for special occasions. And then repairs if, a technician has to come out, if a freezer goes down on a weekend at Tibbetts. And then my dues and fees for like my staff and myself. How are we doing fiscally? So here's just a comparison over the time of the finances in food service. The biggest change here was during the pandemic, where our reimbursement rates were at an all-time high.
Yeah.
I do not have those reimbursement rates right now.
Yeah.
Expenses have also gone up with food. Luckily, staffing has remained the same, if not below.
So blues, the revenues, greens,
Yep.
expenditures in yellow.
Is funding.
Is the
Fund
fund
balance.
So it's been almost 10 years since we've had expenses exceed revenues.
And even if you went back to almost 2000, that matchup between revenues and expenses was pretty much in alignment.
Yeah.
And where it started to get kind of odd was during the pandemic, and then since then.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I just want to come and as trying to run a business aspect. What we currently are offering to families for breakfast and lunch is significantly low. Here's everything with surrounding communities. DPI recommends for the elementary, like lunch prices should be at $2.75. So my proposal is taking breakfast from $1.25 to $1.45. And then lunch is currently at $2.45 and proposing it to be at $2.75. Most schools around the area, their milk pricing is at 50 cents. So I'm proposing that as well. And then this will be on every slide as well, but current meal price is $4.65. And I'm proposing that to go to $5. I would say the high school probably takes advantage of those meals the most. For middle school, I'm proposing breakfast from $1.55 to $1.75. And then for lunch, $2.55 to $2.95. DPI recommended lunch price for middle school is at $3. And I will say, when I've been in contact with the surrounding area schools, they all do plan on doing meal increases just based off food cost alone.
Okay. So these are their current prices.
These are,
They're
yeah, their
adjusted
current
for
prices,
what
so
they're
we
looking
will
at.
still be
Yeah.
below them.
Got it.
For the high school, we are currently at $1.55 for breakfast, proposing it to go to $1.85. And then lunch is at $2.65, proposing it to go to $3.10. DPI recommends $3.25 at the high school level. And I don't know if any, I know Mr. Truen eats at the high school once in a while, especially in our salad bar, which is a very expensive line to have. Those kids are eating like per steal.
Yeah.
You can't even go to McDonald's for these prices. So future challenges, food pricing if it continues to rise. This is something, you know, I remember coming here last year going very conservative because we haven't had to do an increase in forever because of the reimbursement rates, but that's not a reality anymore. So if this continues, it might be something I have to look at annually. Equipment costs, capital improvements, you know, the middle school is our newest school, but unfortunately stuff is starting to fall apart on that end. So, and just uncertainty of future funding right now for my department, so. And then here's some of my lunch ladies, because we like to have fun in lunch lady night too, so.
That's great.
And lunch men.
Yes, and lunch dudes. We have lunch ladies and lunch dudes.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
I was gonna ask if you have any idea or if you had any communication from
No,
the federal.
they keep, I mean, like social groups and DPI and everyone else is, it's just speculation right now,
Yeah.
because there is nothing set in stone, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I was just wondering, what percentage of our students have breakfast?
So I don't have a percentage, but it's, I mean, especially at the middle school, we do a lot of breakfast, so it's at least over half, and I would say a lot of our free and reduced kids take advantage of our breakfast program. We can go back to the numbers that I pulled from March, but it's a good majority.
Well, while we have you here, Ashley, I know there was a question, I believe, at the last meeting related to, or a board member had been asked a question related to the summer feed program.
Yep.
Could you share about that?
Yep, I already put my application in, so we're going live again this summer. I think that's a great program for our community. It's for anyone. It could be someone that's visiting from Janesville. So any child up until 18 years old or up to 21 with an adult with disability. Anyone in that community, from the community who are in that frame, can come and grab a meal.
Okay.
And that's serviced out of the
Middle school, yep, it'll be just the same as it always been.
Now,
To,
is it open to senior population as well, or?
it is not, yep, that's a totally different program.
Just school age kids.
Yeah, but I will say, this will be my 4th summer in this department doing this, and we always averaged about 200 to 300. Last year I was doing 500 to 600. So I'm very curious to see what the summer brings, just with the cost of food and stuff. It's a nice thing to offer families, especially if they're already in the summer program, they can grab and go and have like a free meal, so.
Several years ago, they didn't allow the grabbing.
No, and yes, and that hurt numbers for
Yeah.
sure. They had it
Yeah.
on site for like DPI
Yeah.
requirements, so.
Yeah.
So the grab and go is a nice feature, because you can literally just, the child just has to be present and give them their meal.
Yeah. I know this is kind of a different aspect of, we're not really talking about this tonight, but sometime if you can kind of give us an idea of like, what is the nutritional value that we're trying, nutritional standards that we're.
Yeah, I have charts that I
Okay.
basically go off of each month when
Yeah.
I'm doing the menu planning.
Yeah.
And I will say, I used to have NutriSlice, which was not a very, it's outdated. Literally just got Healthy Pro this month,
Okay.
and this now tracks all my sodium levels, all my
Okay.
calories,
Okay.
which in the past, my system did not allow that. So this will be very helpful moving forward. Knowing like I'm staying within my calories, I'm staying within my sodium. Sugars, I know always a big concern. It has not been at the forefront of DPI. I will say effective July 1st, 2025, we are gonna be limited to like what kind of cereal bowls that we offer. And like yogurt, but it focuses more on the added sugars as opposed to sugars.
Sure.
I would love if we had breakfast like Tibbetts in middle school and high school at every school, because it does allow us to offer more fresh products. Unfortunately though, some of my schools, we have to pack up breakfast and send them out to the classrooms and make sure that it's going to be like shelf stable. So that's one challenge too, so. And what food is available through my vendor right now, or like, you know, the cost, like, great, the reduced sugar stuff might not be in stock, or it's $2 and that for breakfast for $125 is not feasible.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we need a motion to approve the proposed increase.
I move to approve the proposed increase in meal prices as presented.
A second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed increase in meal prices. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Moving on to the approval of the regular session school board meeting from March 24th. Anybody have any things to add to those minutes, or looking for a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the minutes to March 24th, 2025 regular session school board meeting as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the March 24th, 2025 regular session school board meeting. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre,
Abstain.
Mayor Gordon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow,
Yes.
Ms. Corpus.
Yes.
Okay, general and other fund bills.
The general other fund bills this evening covers checks number 154-817 through 154-937. Wire transfer 087 through 102 and ACH numbers 695 through 768, and a combined amount of $735,134.40. And then there was a memo providing some additional information on several of the bills in your board packet.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Truon? Do you have any questions, Kathy?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I had jotted some notes down, but as I went through them, I found the answers.
Okay,
That was
okay.
good.
All right, seeing that there's no questions, I'm just looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the general and other fund bill of April 14th, 2025. Check numbers 154-817 to 154-937. Wire numbers 087 to 102 and ACH check numbers 695 to 768 in the combined amount of $735,134.40 as presented.
Second,
I'll second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the general and other fund bills of April 14th, 2025. Check numbers 154-817 to 154-937, wire numbers 087 to 102, and ACH check numbers 695 to 768 in the combined amount of $735,134.40. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next up is the approval of the options virtual charter school contract.
Tricia, would you like to come up in case there's any questions?
Almost 5 years. Yeah, this, just so everybody knows, this is, something that's been in place for a while. We just have to renew it every 5 years.
And this year is a bit earlier. The next contract doesn't start until July 1.
Okay.
But because we are receiving federal grant funds, they have certain benchmarks throughout the year that we have to check off. And one is having our contract completed and submitted, signed before the end of April.
Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just curious, who's all on governance board?
So currently we have, Kate Groff. She's these, Jason helped me with her title. She's the Gateway
School partnership.
Yes, Director of High School Partnerships. Thank you. She's on our governance board. Melissa Skiba, she's a, parent and governance board member. And, Jessica Dowling, she's the team librarian at the Matheson Library. And we've recently added Jenny Ray, to our governance board, and we look to add a couple more to have at least 5.
Part of the transition that options has had to go through is similar to what the Curran College Academy did. In order to be eligible for federal grant dollars, you can't have employees or board members serve on the governance board, and just like CCA, when it was the alternative high school, had to switch that governance board structure, so that options.
Any other questions?
This is basically the same contract every 5 years.
Yep, and this is our 3rd contract with. The first one was in 2015, and then 2020, and now 2025.
Yeah, I think only the names on the.
Who's
The
saying?
names and, who's on the governance board and stuff like that.
Yep, and we
changed.
tried to clean up dates. So having like specific dates in there or specific names, that so that withstands the time of 5 years.
I'm gonna look at CI education is underlined. Oh,
I just didn't like the word.
yeah, it likes education better. I just tried to figure out why.
Changed too.
Well, technically it is. That is what it's called, individuals with disabilities education. I don't think maybe it is educational. I can't find out. I don't know. Anyway. Just looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the options virtual charter school contract as presented.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to approve the options virtual charter school contract. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, hold on, sorry, I was fixing that. Who
Should it
did
be
those first?
Aye.
Okay. Deborah, and the second, me.
Adam,
Okay, sorry about that.
that's okay.
It should just be education.
Okay. And then I don't know if it's able to be signed tonight. Did you give a paper copy?
I do not have a paper copy.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
I do have a paper copy.
No, I have this, these are 2, I don't have that. I have that.
I do have a paper. Okay, I give it to you.
Yeah.
Real.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to our student representative report.
And Mr. Jaime Sarabia is at a track meet tonight.
Oh.
So that's why he could not be with us. I wish him the best.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, over at the high school, this past weekend was the musical Shrek. It was good performance, good show, everything went smooth, it was really fun. And then on the left, I have a couple pictures of HOSA. HOSA just had state and there were quite a few qualifiers for nationals. And then on the right, FCCLA also had state, actually overlapping times, both at the Kalahari with HOSA. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it was
Oh my
very
gosh.
crazy, very busy.
No.
FCCLA had 4 national qualifiers and 6 gold medalists, and then the top left, or like the right section for FCCLA, that was our knowledgeable team, and we placed second, so that was
Nice.
that's great. Congrats. Over at the middle school, there's a Yankee Candle fundraiser going on right now, and then the 7th grade explorers team got to use owl pellets to understand energy transformation throughout different organisms. And then next week, they're gonna work on identifying the prey that was in the owl pellets and incorporate their math graphing class results. And then there's just a picture of the Try2 honor roll students from the Patriot team. Over at Jackson, there was just recently a bowling alley field trip for 5th grade at Delavan Lanes, which was a great turnout. And then the creativity conference, and those are just a couple of the Jackson students from the conference. And then over at Tibbetts, congratulations to Kylie. Kylie raised $2,074 and then crushed it as their KHC top fundraiser. Kylie will have the gym named after her in honor of her amazing efforts. Thank you to her and all the students that raised money for the American Heart Association Kids Heart Challenge.
Do you know how much they raised in total?
No, I have no idea. This is Rob's slide, so.
Got it.
Yeah. Over at West Side, Miss Palma's kindergarten class went on a field trip to Betty Burns Museum, so there's just a couple pictures over there. And then there's also the spring showcase on April 24th, so you guys can stop in between 5 and 6:30 just to see some students work and things like that.
Thanks.
Over at options, Monday blended elementary students did some gymnastics with Mr. Tom after they did the pacer test. And then there's also the class of 25 graduation ceremony that they're advertising too.
Yes.
At CCA, they had a great open house. Families and prospective students were able to explore the youth build, apprenticeships, and Gateway Association paths, and then also meet the excellent staff members. And then throwback to Sparks Flying and Futures Forming. The welding students have always been hands-on in building bright futures, one project at a time. And then there was the field trip to the cut that they got to do. And then over at Parent Connections for just $20 a week, the Little Elks preschool, I don't really know what's going on there, sorry. Here's some smiles which are brought by Bubbles from Miss Esther's April story times are up there as well. And then the Bubbles thing happened on April 3rd.
So since Miss Esther is
Yeah.
here, we're gonna share.
Yeah, Little Elks Preschool is the one sponsored by Miss Stacy Jacobs and her students. So for $20 a week, they can enroll either a week or both. And then we have our Bodacious Bugs and Incredible Insects event coming Wednesday, so the 4Ks are closed. And everybody's invited to come to the library. 9 noon, we have our Rockstar 4K staff manning the deck, and we took over the whole library.
Oh my goodness.
We have Racine Zoo and UW Madison's insect ambassadors coming, so lots of creepy crawlers, and hopefully we'll get some budding entomologists out of the bunch.
And I see there's a number of Tibbet staff. Anyone know what the total amount raised for the Heart Association was?
I did think of the same thing. I
Ballpark?
8,000, I think.
On like that.
I can try to look it up here.
Yeah, it was in an email. I was gonna guess around 18. Usually we're around 20,000, but we'll try it. Yeah, usually we're around 20,000. It's, but this year is a little bit less. I believe.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I think West Side was pretty close as well. They were around 20,000 as well. I remember seeing the posts, so
Okay.
the schools do a really good job at that.
The elementary is, there's no other fundraiser that we have that raises more funds for any
Yeah.
project, initiative, or organization than that. For the American Heart Association, it should be elementary is a lot of money.
Yeah. Revving that the gym named after him last year. That's the only reason I knew. Kind of watched the numbers because we like. So, yeah, it's big every year for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. Was that the end of your?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, thank you very much for doing that. All right, next on the item or on the agenda is a discussion about the referendum and what our next steps will be.
All right, we put that as just a general discussion item for the school board. We do have the. We have a closed session today to discuss. A couple of items related to contracts and potential. Severance or early retirement. Offer to generate, potential. Attrition or
Right.
resignation as far as an incentive in that fashion. We have the board budget retreat, which will be, it was always an open meeting on April 30th, where the administration will have some formalized plans and specifics for the school board, which after that meeting on April 30th, in our frame of mind, we think we'll be ready to present what are those next steps
Yeah.
out to the community following that meeting. It's kind of from that timeline standpoint. I know there's been questions from the community. Well, when are we gonna know
Yeah.
if we're doing, what's next year
Yeah.
going to look like, what the model's gonna look like? I think from that scope and sequence, that time frame from an administrative team, we feel like we can have the recommendations to the board and the board can. Make some of those early decisions so that we can then by that first week of May have the plans communicated out.
Sure.
At least the initial
Mhm.
plans.
I think the public comment today was pretty
Right,
impactful.
right,
That
for sure,
that the community is,
yeah.
thank you for that, by the way, and others. But that's pretty impactful that the communities get together to rally their own funds to help
Right,
in a very particular issue as well. They're not saying, hey, let's raise some money to help, let's raise some money to prevent one particular
right,
fear, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty important. That's something we're gonna talk about more as well, and I'd like to stay in communication with you guys about it, and let me know how that's going. That's really awesome that you guys are doing that.
yeah. It's pretty phenomenal. That's really incredible.
And the fact that there were multiple people, it wasn't just X amount of money.
Right.
But multiple people got together and said, yeah, I'm gonna pledge X or
Yeah.
whatever it is. That's pretty awesome. It's really awesome.
And to see the business community step up as well.
Yeah.
Because I think what you say, half a dozen or so businesses, no, that's amazing, Brenda, thank you.
Yeah, and if you can keep getting the word out there.
Yeah, it's just scratching the surface of
Yeah.
people that are gonna support this. So this is really great.
Yeah, I think of all the budgetary reduction strategies and so forth, and going to the center schools was, listed as that proposal just because of the amount of staff and the attrition you need to do and to be able to balance out the class size. But the board and the district also needs to take into consideration, what is the potential impact of either loss of students or people choosing to go elsewhere. And even at the elementary level, we're close to 1/5 of the students in our traditional brick and mortar elementaries are school choice into our district. Many of those students school choice when their own school districts transitioned or shifted to neighborhood schools several years ago. So I think that is definitely part of the calculus for the board and admin and doing the recommendations, and when there's support from the community willing to help that is something that needs to be taken into consideration for sure. other thoughts in regards to that timeline or that time frame on the decision making and?
No, I mean, yeah. The next, tonight, and closed, and then our budget retreat, I think that's gonna be our key discussion, and obviously it's an open meeting, so members of the public are welcome to attend that. And listen to the same information that we're getting, and there's not really public comment during that, is that right?
I mean, the board, if you wanted to hold a public comment section, you could, or, typically it's
not.
It's not, typically they're not that well attended,
No.
but I think it's one of the more interesting meetings of the year.
It is, it's very, it's extremely informational. Mr. Truen puts, and his team put a lot of effort into that meeting, so.
Is the administration comfortable with the timeline?
Yeah, I believe we'll have the plans, we have some of the personnel pieces to review with the board this evening. As it relates to the contract, I think we'll get some guidance related to that, and we'll have, I think for that timeline, we'll have options available to share the different scenarios and the options. There's a lot of unknowns going into next year's budget because it's the state hasn't set their budget for next year, so part of it is,
Speculative.
right, and guesswork, yeah.
Right.
But I think I shared it in the message with the families in the community after the referendum that if there's a silver lining is that we're starting from a good, strong financial position in relation to the fund balance.
Yeah.
Which affords us time. We're not like where some of our neighbors where their fund balance was already down to 15%. We can take our time and be deliberate and use some of those reserves to have a softer landing in a sense and look and see what the state does, take some actions and look at it over a 2-year cycle or a 2-year period.
Sure.
And that affords us a little bit of flexibility in seeing what's the state going to do and taking it in a 2-year chunk.
Okay. All right, moving on to our personnel recommendations.
Hey, we have a retirement. We want to thank Amy Demeter for her 22 years of service with the school district and been a longtime teacher at Jackson. We appreciate all of her service and time dedication to our students. I know my son had Amy our first year into the district when we moved here. And then we have a resignation of Matthew, Ryan, and an appointment of Morgan Whitehead as a middle school social worker. She'll replace Megan Tenulinas for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. Transfer of Jesse Bonagovsky as a network specialist. He'll be replacing Jacob Rasmussen next year. So he's already an employee. He'll be moving into Jacob's position next year, who's taking over for Randy Drake.
Okay.
And then the appointment of Gregory Fisher as a middle school head custodian. He'll be replacing Eric Jordalis. I always think about the Spanish.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the personnel recommendation sheet of April 14th, 2025, including new employment contracts in addition on passing the background check and the drug screening that's presented.
There's a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for April 14th, 2025, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. I do have, if you haven't taken some time to read the two resignation, the Amy Demeter's letter was really, really Very special, yeah, that's really good. Thank you to her for her service to our district. Acceptance of school gifts.
We have a very generous gift from MW Industrial Equipment Corporation. They donated a Toyota forklift to the Elkhorn Area High School Auto Department, valued at $13,600. And I have not seen the forklift yet, but my understanding is they refurbed it and, you know, painted it like Elkhornized, right?
Nice.
You bring that up intentionally because they painted it purple and that's your favorite color.
Oh, I think it's recognize the care that they did, yeah.
Yeah, former student works there and I think they were looking at donate it and they brought it back.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I want to thank them for their generous gift, and I know the maintenance department, buildings and grounds was very excited to borrow that as well. I don't know what the automotive department's gonna do, I guess move some engines around, different things.
Hopefully, it's another vehicle of transportation, those areas, you know.
Yeah.
Still got a motor, it's still got moving parts, it's
Yep.
just, somebody's gotta fix the money break.
Yep. All right, looking for a motion to accept.
I move to accept the generous school gift as presented. Great, thanks to MW.
Yes, very much so. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the generous school gift. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to see us. It's always so interesting that we have to accept gifts. All right, the CISA 2 contract.
So our annual contract renewal was CISA 2. And for some reason, I hope it's pulling up on your computer, it's not.
Yeah,
pulling up.
we have access to it.
Okay.
There's just two things that we contract with CISA for, right?
I love the attorney and education, technology.
Yeah.
But we still pay the 5,229 members of CISA 2, right?
I believe so, I don't believe that's optional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun.
I know that we do some other things with other CISAs. We have to pay membership.
I think just paying for those services outside of it.
You're a CISA 2 rep, aren't you?
At this moment, I am.
Yeah.
We do, and they do have like monthly superintendent meetings that I attend, they have other networking consortium meetings that we do attend and participate as part of that, which is included in that fee, but for the most part, aside from that overarching fee, it's a pay per service. For whether it's CISA 2 or any of the others.
So just looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the 2025-2026 CISA 2 contract as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2025-2026 CISA 2 contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And unless you have some announcements that are new.
No new announcements. I mentioned the board meeting on April 28th. I'm just remembering the closed session tonight, and good luck to all the spring sports that are underway.
All right, so now looking for a motion to adjourn to our closed session.
I'll move to adjourn in contemplation closed session through to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, to discuss employee incentive separation program and staff compensation plans for the 2025-2026 school year. The school board will reconvene in open session for action as appropriate regarding closed session business and or through.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn to contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, to discuss employee incentive separation program and staff compensation plans for the 2025-2026 school year. School board will reconvene in open session for action as appropriate regarding closed session business and or to adjourn. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre.
Yes.
Mayor Gordon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
And Ms. Corpus.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.